Okay, I give up on the intro music again.
We'll get it eventually.
Okay, like it's still the beginning of the season. This is episode 2 of season 2. We're still going through our kinks. It's all good. We're still like ironing out our lives and prepping and organizing ourselves. This is going to be one of those episodes, I think, where we're just relaxing. The season's just started. Not all of our teams have actually played full games yet. We're still early on in the season, but there's still a lot to talk about. The first thing that I thought of, hi, by the way, my name is Stacey Agdern. This is the Chippy Chicks. I am with some amazing writers and amazing hockey fans, Danica Flynn, Kelly Jameson, and Fortune Whelan, who just had a release this week. But also really recently released is the Seattle Kraken's mascot, Buoy. Buoy makes 31 out of 32 teams in the league have a mascot.
Who doesn't have a mascot?
The New York Rangers do not have a mascot.
Really?
Yep, we do not. And I have very strong feelings about this subject. But obviously your guys' teams have mascots. Tell me, like, do you like the mascot? Do you not like the mascot? And then I will explain my feels on the subject.
I'll go. So the Calgary Flames Harvey the Hound was the very, very first NHL mascot, which is his claim to fame. I love him. He makes everything great. He has a drum. Everybody knows him. He's hilarious. He wears pants but doesn't have a shirt. Harvey the Hound is great.
The Jets have a very lame mascot. Our mascot is Mickey Moose. So he carried over from before the Jets 2.0 came back, and our team was the Manitoba Moose. And so Mickey Moose was kind of okay for the Moose. That was their name. But they kept him when the Jets came back. I don't know why, because he doesn't fit in with the Jets at all. The Jets 1.0 had Benny and the Jets. So that was better, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't bring back Benny, but we still have Mickey Moose. And I don't know, he's really kind of creepy looking. And he has I think they're trying to make the moose look fierce. So he has this really creepy smile. It's just frightening. So I'm not a fan of our mascot.
So I can talk about Gritty.
I'm jealous of Gritty.
Gritty's the best.
When Gritty came out, like, we didn't have one for a while, and it was never really like we really needed one. But when Gritty came out, people were obviously confused by the look. But if you're from Philly, you can see that his look definitely looks like the Philly Fanatics. So when he came out, I was like, that makes sense to me. So it makes sense in the context of Philadelphia sports, but it doesn't really in terms of hockey. So people that don't know, like the Phillies don't know Philadelphia, I think they were like, what is that thing? And then we're like, no, you cannot say anything bad about him. We can say stuff bad.
Yeah.
But he became like just like this cultural like icon that I don't think they expected to happen. But he definitely was like the bright spot for a while. Like last season, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess we can watch Gritty. And Gritty was on an episode of Abbott Elementary. Like, which makes sense. The show is set in West Philadelphia, so it totally makes sense. So yeah, I love that we have Gritty. I mean, yeah, he looks like the Fanatic. It kind of makes sense. All of our other teams have mascots, so I think it does kind of make sense that Philly, like the Flyers, have one. I'm not sure I love the Kraken mascot though. It's kind of weird looking.
He is kind of weird looking. The best thing about him is, did you see he can pull out his teeth?
I didn't know that, but that's really funny.
That's really funny because I was so the Kraken were in my town playing, and one of the ladies I work with, she was like, oh, are you like a rink rat? You're gonna go see the Kraken? And she said she was from Ottawa, and she had a friend, I guess, who got together with Danny Heatley, who also took his teeth out when they were making out. So
I love it.
yeah, right.
Quickly, like hockey romance detail. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine? That's going to be my next book. You just like take your teeth out in the middle of making out.
You know, if any of us put that in a book, like readers would be like, ew. And be like, no, like, even though that would feel realistic to us, readers would be repulsed by it.
Ew.
Well, like-
Oh, they have no idea. There's so many gross things about hockey players.
But also, like, there could be the alternative, you know, it falling out in the middle of, you know, something, and you'd have to like, yeah. It's gonna be other.
Sorry, Danny Heatley.
But but speaking of taking out things, there are many reasons why I am very, very glad that the Rangers do not, in fact, have a mascot. I love mascot culture. I love seeing the different, you know, mascots like change from sport to sport, like UB did, moving from the Expos to the Canadians. And I want to say the Islanders Dragon moved from the lacrosse team that played at Nassau Coliseum for like 5 minutes and became, again, like became the Islanders mascot. My terrible fear is the following. I am terrified that, like, if they tried something, it would be some ridiculous version of the Statue of Liberty. And the thing is, I love like I love the New York Liberty. And I also love Eric Poole's work. And if you see like any of like the playoff art that he's done, like, or like his like road to the Stanley Cup, where it's like this like tower of sort of not exactly mascots, but like sort of like mascots that like sort of it's like a pile of mascots where you like, you know, the representing the teams as they slowly make it to the top and hold the cup. It's kind of amazing. I think he's ePool88 on Instagram and Twitter. And he does a really interesting version of the Statue of Liberty. And I think that would be cool. That wouldn't be what we get though.
Yeah.
What I could be comfortable with, but that would never happen, would be like an apple. Like a happy dancing apple. I could totally see an apple with like a hockey stick and a puck, but like we never get that.
That's right.
Yes, if you take a look and see, like, this is Eric Poole's art, and like, you know, you can see the different versions of the mascots as you go through, like, well, they're not exactly mascots, but like you like his depiction of the teams as you go through, like.
Yeah, so that was like he has some other stuff. So like this is the early ones. Like I love the Flyers one because it's like the bullies, like and that was true to that era. So it feels really that's like cool. I was kind of confused about the Canadians one. So someone explain that to me.
It was some kind of ghost. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a ghost.
Yeah. I can't explain that.
Okay. Nope. That's something I don't get because I'm American.
Oh, there's Harvey. I love it. I love the Oilers.
Yes.
And the Islanders. These are
the
great.
Islanders, and I think harkens back to when their like logo looked like the Morton's fish guy.
Yes. And actually, very interesting side note that I saw, like they're revealing the reverse retro jerseys for this year. And they are actually doing a version of the fisherman jersey for the Islanders with less teal, which apparently is like a whole thing.
I didn't even notice the lockout one.
Yeah.
The lockout one. Oh my god. Cute.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
scroll through them.
He does a whole bunch of art, and it's just really, really cool to look at. Like,
yeah, they're cool. I think that's great. Like,
great. And then like I love
the Avalanche. Oh, I love it.
That is hilarious.
The bubble one. That's fun.
Yes.
The Avalanche one looks really cool too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
That was the first time winning, right? Or did they win before?
I think they won
the Avalanche
before.
Yeah.
Chris York, I think, won with the Avalanche in like the
I thought they had one before.
And Sakic too.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah.
I missed it before. It's right here. So
Yep.
just got a little bit of a makeover.
Jill
"This-
Sack.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's really cool to see. Like,
Yeah, that's really cool. But you're right. They probably would do like some cheesy like Statue of Liberty.
yeah,
thing.
and that would not work because no,
Um,
especially when you have like the New York Liberty playing, in Brooklyn, like
yeah.
no.
Mhm.
But that's what we ended up with, and that is why I'm deliriously thrilled that we do not have one.
A dancing apple would be cute though.
Yeah, exactly. The apple would be amazing, but and if I were convinced that we would have an apple, I would be all for it. But that would. But
Can I you mentioned the lacrosse league. Can I just like venture into lacrosse for 1 second? Because I don't think I told you guys this last time. But my nephew got drafted to the NLL this year.
oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. So he's playing in Vancouver. But I hope he makes the team because how exciting would that be?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. Like I love those
Awesome.
stories. Like for some strange reason, it makes me think of John Tavares, who's I want to say he's got a relative of some sort, like a cousin or like a relative who was rather famous in lacrosse and played, and I think he played in like the early stages of the NLL. Like if I'm not mistaken, but I do not remember. But like I love that. Congratulations to your nephew. And
Had nothing to do with it. I just wanted to shut him up.
it's awesome. Like you're a proud aunt, and that's kind of amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. But that also makes me think about like fresh faces on your teams. Like we're sliding around a little bit, I realize, but that's okay. Because like the thing is, like, being a part of club, being like, you notice, like, as with the change of seasons, with the change of things, like you notice, like, players retire, new players come onto the team by trades or by drafting. Like, what do you guys think of the makeups of your team for this year?
Well, the Jets didn't change very much. Everybody was hoping that they would do a lot of changes after the disappointment of last year. So they didn't really change very much. But even so, they did pick up a few players off of waivers this year. So who knows what that's going to be like. Although I will share Yes. Have you seen him?
Yeah, I have a couple of author friends who are Caps fans. I don't know how they befriended me, but they were sharing photos of him before that happened.
I can't. Where's my Google? There we go. What's his name? Axe.
I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Axe. Just a minute. I have it here somewhere. Axe. Oh no, I don't have it.
It's something very Swedish.
Wait. I have it. I want to show a picture of him because, well, I wish you could have seen him when he didn't play the first game on Friday night. He was on the board on the bench when they introduced him, but he if you could see a picture from that night, it would be amazing. But I don't think there is one. Now I don't have his name. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Anyway, I will find it in a few minutes and show you a picture of him. But he's absolutely beautiful. I just hope he can play.
I don't.
And
yeah.
then we have a few other new guys that we got off waivers. I don't even know them. Oh, the one that I'm kind of excited about is David Riddick. Riddick, is that how you say it? Our new goaltender. He's our backup goaltender. He played really well during the preseason, so that was a good thing. I was happy to see that because we lost our backup goaltender, put him on waivers, and he got claimed. Or no, he was a free agent. Is he a free agent? No, I think it was waivers. Anyway, whatever. And then another new player, Sam Gagner, he scored the winning goal on Friday night. So yay!
Yeah, Sam Gagner, the one he used to be on Edmonton. That's Sam Gagner. Or was he on? I don't know.
Yeah.
So Rittich used to play on Calgary, and I don't know if I didn't see him play for you, but for Winnipeg, but I felt like his gear was always too big, and then there was like this, like it was way bigger than it was supposed to be, and then he got like this rep in the media here, and they called him Fatich instead of Rittich, because his because his equipment is so big, like he covers the entire net. So I hope he played well here. So I hope he plays well for the Jets too.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible person sometimes.
Fingers crossed.
There are people that we are happy to see go too. Like there are some defensemen playing for the Rangers right now that I would very much like to see not playing for us. And I think this is a consistent, like we all sort of see on our teams, like the defensemen who act like traffic cones and really should not be playing. Or like or like there are players where we're just like, how? There are all these other players that deserve a shot, and yet this one is still here, even if he's the seventh defenseman. Doesn't matter. He should not be playing. Like we all have those players, and we're just like, and we can never, we like, but that's part of fandom too, right? Like,
Yeah. It's been weird. Like, I didn't watch any of the preseason games because I just didn't want to be mad yet. And my coaching partner is also a Flyers fan. And she was like not really like really that optimistic about the season starting because she was like, they played terrible during preseason. Like, we do have a lot of injuries. So like that, I think Sean Couturier might just be done. Like, I don't know, like his injuries he just keeps re-injuring the same thing, which is unfortunate because I think he's really good and I really like him. I would love for him to stay. But we have a whole new coach. We don't have a captain. There's only one player that has a letter, and it's Scott Lofton. And he's been with Philly for a while, and I think I like him. And I think that's interesting. He has an A, but nobody else does, which is really interesting. And I don't know if that is a Tortorella thing, like he's trying to test them out, or I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's interesting. So, I mean, I didn't think they would name a captain right away or anything, but I don't know. I know, Stacey, didn't the Rangers not have a captain for a while?
yeah. So like
Yeah.
we had 6 assistants for the last 2 years, and the fandom had choices and thoughts about who we wanted to be named captain.
Yeah.
But I wanted to actually say, like, thank you. Like, it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition with Kelly, the idea that like Trouba, left Winnipeg and came to New York and became the captain. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the interesting stories that you hear about him, and like they were actually talking on the broadcast, like, talking to a couple of the Jets players about like what they thought about Trouba becoming captain. It was really cool to hear. It was really cool to hear like their commentary. And it was interesting because one of the things that I thought about when he first got named captain was like, there were controversies like within the fandom about it, like, it's not Kreider, it's Vanacek, and I love them both, and I think they're fantastic. But one of the things I thought of was like how Trouba was one of the first after George Floyd was killed by police. And there was, the conversations about all of that, and like, like what hockey players were doing. Trouba was actually like, after like Adam Fox's little sort of step towards it, Jacob Trouba was the first person on the team to be like, to actually say something publicly. And I'm like, yes. And when people were starting to sort of have thoughts about vaccination, like he stood up and said, we are doing this is happening, made like announcements about it. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, this is the guy I want as captain, like, okay, I'm good with that.
So speaking of him, did you see the press conference where they were talking to him when he was made captain and he started crying?
Yes.
I was like, this is a romance novel moment.
It's so perfect. Right? Like,
about his wife, because it's like, they asked him, what your relationship means to you or something like that. And his wife is a doctor, and that was why he wanted to move to the States to play. And he goes, she's here right now. And he starts tearing up. And it's
my heart, like,
and he's a kind of a mean guy on the ice, but
but I mean, like when you talk about like old school hockey hits, like that's what he does. Like, every team has one, every team has someone who does it. Like, you look at like the different hits that happen like on the different nights, but like thinking about, there's actually, I want to say it was Emily Kaplan of ESPN who did a piece, sort of telling the whole story. Because you know, like in New York, like you see interviews and conversations about it before, but like I'm like for the opening night game, they did an interview, and it was kind of like they did a whole little piece about like, you know, what their life is like in the apartment in New York with the puppies. The puppies are adorable. They need to be followed on Instagram, but like it's just a really lovely story. And I think like every sort of, when you have a captain in a lot of ways and like on a team that has that kind of story, like whatever that story is, it will be part of the team's kind of current set of mythology, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know, does Calgary have a captain? Like I know that
No, so Calgary's been weird with captains. So we haven't had like an actual C for a couple of years. That was Mark Giordano, and before that was Joe McGinley, who hasn't played in forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
So it's really I think for the Flames, it's always like whoever's the most I can't even say that it's even the most like vocal, because Mark Giordano is not a vocal player, but I think just like whoever the team leader is usually the captain. So this year, well, obviously our A's all left last year. But I'm really, but we have, but this year we've got Huberto, who's obviously new. Backlund is still there, which I'm happy about, because Backlund was always Stutter's guy. Tanev and Elias Lindstrom, who I obviously had a mad crush on last year. So they're sharing the A this year. And I don't know that any of them are going to come out to be the next Giordano or the next, Joe McGinley or the next Larry or Lanny McDonald. Do you know what I mean? So I'm okay with that. And I was reading a little about why. And I think, because these are the younger guys, like you don't see, like I think maybe Backlund's the oldest of these guys, but even with Kadri there, even with Lucic there, these are the younger guys that are going to bring the Flames into the next, into the season, right? So I kind of like that.
Yeah, like I think that's kind of also like what was happening before Trouba got the C in New York. You had this leadership group. You had like the 6 of them, and like they would help each other through whatever is going on and like sort of help the team through. And it's, and I think that's important too. If it's like when you don't have a captain, like whether it's a longer serving player, like you were saying with Scott Lawton in Philadelphia, like, you've got to find that sort of idea somewhere. And it's so funny because like I've always thought for years, like, the captain is the leader in the locker room, like whatever, like whoever and why, like unofficial, goalies as leaders, like, like in Florida for all those years with Luongo. And like I would actually wager in a lot of ways, like after there in that long period before we had the leadership group, I would actually say that in the locker room the leader was Lundqvist. So because goaltenders can't wear C's. So let me just so Danica, you were saying that you didn't watch the preseason. And I kind of like it's interesting to me because fandom is one of those wild things, especially hockey, like hockey fandom in general too, right? Like, I absolutely went through a period of withdrawal over the summer for sure. I was like, because I was so used to watching the games.
Yeah.
And then there was nothing, and I was like, okay. And then I kind of fell into like a relaxation, and I watched some of the preseason, but it wasn't that important. And then I'm now in this stage where I'm slowly starting to watch the games again. Not every game in the universe. I haven't sort of got that need to watch every single game because I haven't, like my hockey, that part of my hockey fandom ebbs and flows. Like I as the season progresses, I want to watch more and more games. But right now, I'm happy. I'm getting to know my Rangers. I'm getting to know the changes. I'm getting to see what Trocheck looks like. I'm hoping to God that Kravtsov gets another chance back with Panarin. Like I'm watching, I'm watching the way the team goes, so I can watch them for the rest of the season and follow along. how does your fandom, and I use the collective you, like work? Like, are you all in on everybody from the beginning of the season, or does it take a while to get there? Or
Well, I'm pretty all in, even right at the start. Although at this start, it hasn't been totally normal because as I was sharing with all of you just before we went live, this last couple of weeks has been a bit of a nightmare. And I was on a deadline, so I didn't have a lot of time to watch hockey. So I watched a couple of the preseason games, and then I watched the first Jets game. And then last night I was thinking, oh, it's Saturday and hockey's back. I should watch hockey, but I was still writing this down book, so I didn't. But I expect over the next little while I will be watching lots of hockey. I'm so happy.
Micah doesn't want to talk about it. I'll go. So for me, actually, it's kind of different because I grew up in Calgary, and so everything was always like flames, flames, flames. But now that I don't live in Calgary, I feel a little bit removed. And so I don't normally watch a lot of hockey until like the All-Star break, just because there's football, there's baseball, there's basketball still. And then when the All-Star break comes on, I feel like I feel like I've changed into a fair weather fan, because I used to be like all in all the time, or I just got other hobbies. I don't know, but but as soon as like February hits, like I'm all in until June.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, as I said, like, it's fandom is not the same all the time for everyone, and I kind of like the fact that we all watch differently, we all have different perspectives on it. It's because each season is different, each sport is different, each way we view things are different. Like like our team is always going to be our team. Well, not always, but you know what I mean? Our team is going to be our team. And like how we watch hockey, how we feel about hockey is probably, I think, in a lot of ways going to be affected by how we view our teams. And like this season, especially like the beginning of this season has kind of been an interesting one as we sort of but like, sort of came into this post this season, generally speaking. So yay that hockey is back, yay that teams are starting to play games, yay that everything is starting to get organized. Do we want to start with let's see, one other thing that I kind of want to think about. I love, Fortune, you were talking about like other sports that are happening right now, like other things that are happening. And one of the things I kind of love, and I don't necessarily know if like all of your cities do this with other sports in the area, but like one of the things I absolutely love is the partnership between sports teams. Like not necessarily actual partnership, but like during like comparatively recently, like when the baseball playoffs started, the Rangers very happily posted pictures of Rizzo and Judge and a couple of other members of the Yankees at Madison Square Garden at a Ranger game. And I was like, that's amazing. And they're like, we're rooting for you too. And I love that so much because, and I thought I may have seen it for the Mets too, but I'm not sure. But the point is like, the team's social media and the teams themselves, they know who's paying attention. They know who's watching. Like they know that they're not the only game in town for various sports teams and people. And I actually saw earlier today, Danica, that people were talking about how the Philadelphia sports mojo was back. And like apparently the Flyers were doing really well, and people were like, it was because of the Phillies, like, which is kind of amazing. Like, have you guys, do you like when your hockey team supports other sports teams in the area / like, is there like that evidence of partnership? And if so, like how does that, how do you guys see it happening and working and stuff?
So Philly's always been like that. It's a sports city. All the teams always do it. Like their social media always posts, like they always cross promote. So the Phillies beat advanced in the middle of the Flyers game. So they were like posting stuff on the Jumbotron about it. Like they were like celebrating it like in the middle of the Flyers game. And then I don't know where it posted, but Jason Kelsey, who plays for the Eagles, was like wearing a Flyers jersey at practice. So like underneath his practice jersey, I really love him. He is like the spirit of Philly for me. So even though I like don't really watch football, but I do love Jason Kelsey. Yeah. And I think just Philly's like kind of always been that way. They always like kind of cross promote. Yeah.
It happens here to a certain extent. Like we have one other it's just we have professional baseball too, but I'm kind of not so much into baseball. On our football team, the Blue Bombers, it does happen between them and the Jets, but there's not a lot of overlap of the seasons. So like the Jets don't start playing until October, September, end of September, preseason October. And then November is Grey Cup and football is done. So, and like lots of the players don't stay here when the season's over. So, but it does happen. And I like it. I love it.
I think it's funny when the sports crossover. I was watching my husband, you guys know him, he likes the Indianapolis Colts. And they were playing a really bad game. And then a different player, I guess Mike Judge was having like a money game during another, like the week before. And then during this game, everyone's like, oh, I miss Mike, or somebody tweeted that they missed Mike Judge. And I was like, I love that. I would love to be in a fly in a room and all those guys get together and just like, shoot the shit. It's kind of funny. So you're talking about how, so I'm like, again, where I live, like it's a weird place where all these people get together. And I told you guys earlier I was getting a tattoo, and the other tattoo artist he has a guy who plays in his hockey league who plays like elite level. And then so there's a league here in Canmore that has just like ex NHL players and like ex Swedish players. So it's a really high level, game. But this guy is playing in like the beer league, and they're like, you have to play in the other league, because even when you are, even if you're like at a major junior level, if you've never gone to like the NHL, like the pro level, like the difference is so vast. Because they can, like, I remember Sean used to play flag football, and he wasn't even a professional football player. He was a professional baseball player who like was a ringer in the league, and he could have just thrown footballs to himself. He was that much better than everybody else. But like, it's like night and day,
Yeah.
But even, so can I tell you guys, so the Kraken came to play here in Calgary. So apparently, it's not in Calgary. So apparently they were here because they played in Calgary, and then they were going to play in Edmonton. But there was like a 3-day leg, and otherwise they would have to go back to Seattle or something. But we went, and it was free, and it was great, and they were lovely. And all the kids were so cute, because the kids, they all, their parents like brought them, and they all signed, the Flames things. They were so like sweet, right?
Yeah.
About it. And then I brought my friend she's not really a hockey person. And she was like, it was really boring for her because they were just doing drills. And she's like, what do they know? How do they know what to do? Like, I was like, well, they're professional hockey players. It was fun. I'm glad they came, because I haven't because I don't live in Calgary anymore. I don't get to see hockey anymore.
Yeah.
So I was really happy about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's good.
Like that's the best part of it, right? Like, the sort of like excitement, like seeing how people interact in a positive way in the environment. And I kind of love that a lot, because it doesn't happen that often. So like, it's just a really cool thing to see. Do we want to talk about our wildest things?
Sure.
Can we go? Oh, I just wanted to, sorry, when you had, so I read your list and it had, like these banners. Can we just
Yeah.
talk about these banners for a second?
Sure, sure.
Because I had no idea what you were talking about. So I
Okay.
looked
Same.
it
So, all
up.
right, so this is the story. So the LA Kings last year the last year or 2 years ago had an issue because they thought that the Taylor Swift longest running performer banner was bringing them bad luck. So they had to cover it.
So
And
this banner for Taylor Swift has nothing to do with hockey.
Exactly. Well, so there are a couple of different aspects of it. So the banner that's hanging there, when you have obviously when you have an arena that's multi-purpose, you have different aspects of things that people who do concerts, people who do whatever.
Yeah.
I guess the LA, I forget the name of the arena that the Kings play in, but that particular arena is also one of those multi-purpose arenas, and and Taylor Swift had done a bunch of concerts there, broken attendance records, and one of the two of them, I'm not exactly sure which one, but anyway, they commemorated that with banner. So there's a banner along with all of the various retired Kings numbers and other things, and Clippers or Lakers, yeah, whatever. Again, I don't know basketball, but there's that banner that's hanging up in the arena with Taylor Swift's either attendance record or and so the Kings were convinced it was bringing them bad luck, so they had to cover it.
But why the Kings and not Kobe Bryant's or you know what I mean?
Who knows why people complain?
I know.
2 years, and then 2 years ago, right? And then either 2 years ago or whatever, when the Predators pulled up a whole bunch of different banners in their arena for the various achievements that they had throughout the season, people were just what the hell are you people doing? And then recently at the Garden, so because I think they're Elton John has a banner, Billy Joel has a banner in, up with Brian Leach and all the retired Ranger numbers and the Knicks numbers and stuff like that. Elton John has played X number of shows at the Garden, because that's what they do. They commemorate these things. And Harry Styles had a 14-15 show residency at the Garden, and he got a banner. And so people were what the hell? But again, you play 15 shows and sell them out at the Garden at any venue, you're gonna you deserve something. So
really, because the Flames have been selling out the Saddle Dome for 30 years, and you still only get a banner if you are a good hockey player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Canadian thing or just maybe a smaller market thing, but our arena is multi-purpose for sure.
Yeah.
But the only banners that are there are hockey banners.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I went to the Wells Fargo if I saw it. Obviously they have the Sixers, because it's the Sixers and Flyers play there. And obviously they have that stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen any musician stuff there.
But how can you compare Dr. J to Harry Styles? At this point, you can give me a banner. I've written 3 books.
I would but I think
the banner.
I think what it is for at least for the Garden is when you talk about the Knicks or the Rangers or the sports teams that have fundamental basic residency, right? You assume that they're going to sell out a crap ton of tickets. You assume that that's going to happen, right? And you assume that they're going to be selling out games night after night, because that's what's supposed to happen, right? They're the ones, they bring in the money. That's what happens. They're the permanent residents, right, of the arena. But when you have non-permanent residents who do either, every arena does it differently, but that's why I'm asking, what's I can explain what I think the philosophy is behind these extra banners, but is it a Garden thing? Is it an American thing? Is it what do the other American arenas do, or Canadian arenas? Is Maple Leaf Gardens the same way? Is it, is Boston, the TD Garden do, put up banners for attendance for musicians. I don't know.
I
Like,
have no idea. Yeah.
you know, it's just an interesting like conversation, and like, you know, especially when the Kings were like, this banner is making us suck. And I'm just like, I literally was like, and if any Kings fans know the exact story, please like let us know, because I'm like I knew part of it, but I was just like, or any Swifties that managed to see this video, if you know the story behind this, let me know, because I'm like,
I wonder if she like wore a jersey at one point and that's why they're saying that, because I think like Justin Bieber wore like a Leafs jersey or something, but like the Leafs suck anyway. So like I'm like, that's not really like a good, like they've like, you know, like I know there's been like things like that, like, oh, that person wore the jersey for this team and now they suck. And I feel like it might have been Taylor Swift. So I feel like that might be where it's coming from. But like I don't really know for sure. I'm kind of just like speculating right now. And yeah.
the one jersey I remember her wearing was a Carolina Hurricanes jersey with Jeff Skinner all those years ago, when Skinner was like,
she's from Pennsylvania. She's from Wyoming, Pennsylvania. So if anything, she should wear a Flyers jersey.
Yeah. But they did the same thing to Jessica Simpson when she was wearing like a Romo's jersey, and they're like, and they were so mean about it too. Because she was dating him and she kept wearing it, and they're like, she's bad luck.
I think, yeah, that's exactly. I think that is where it's coming from, to be honest. It's something with like,
okay. Because
I feel like it's some misogynistic thing, honestly.
Because I was like, there are all these banners at the Garden. Like, there are all these freaking banners at the Garden. The Rangers haven't, like, it's not been a thing ever. Like, I mean, recently with the Harry Styles thing, which I think is ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna let Elton John and Billy Joel have banners for the same thing, you give Harry Styles that banner. But that's another story entirely. But like, yeah, like it's just it's wild. Like, you see the jerseys, like when they're, when musicians are playing concerts at the various venues, you see them always in whatever jersey it is of the city, whether it's like a hockey jersey, a basketball jersey, a baseball jersey, they are in a jersey, and that is a thing. It's gonna happen.
No one's ever accused Jack White of being bad luck to Detroit.
Yeah. Well, oh, Detroit, which with its own reasons for bad luck. Oh my gosh. All right. So wildest, this is, I love this. Wildest thing. Speaking of wild things, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I didn't have much that was that wild this time. I guess because it's early in the season, maybe things haven't gone crazy yet. But so I am gonna say that it was the Hockey Canada stuff that went down. And for those, I know it's Hockey Canada. For those who don't know what Hockey Canada is, it's the national governing body for hockey in Canada, and oversees management of hockey programs in Canada, right from like entry level right up to high level performers, including world championships and the Olympics. So, and it's been in the news, as some of you may recall, from back in April when there was a claim made by a woman that she had been sexually assaulted by a number of members of the Canada's World Junior team back in 2018, I think it was. And Hockey Canada tried to cover it up, and it did come out at one point that they had used some of their funds to pay off this claim and keep this sort of under wraps. So this is a huge scandal, of course, and they didn't seem to get the message that what they had done was wrong. And it took, in the last couple of weeks, a whole bunch of sponsors have withdrawn their funding. Bauer, Nike, Canadian Tire, Tim Hortons, Scotiabank, Imperial Oil, Sobeys, like big sponsors. And a whole bunch of provincial hockey organizations have, I think, cut ties with them. Other partners, like broadcast partners like TSN, have called for meaningful change. So I think it was just last week, finally, They had made a woman, the interim chairman of the board. Is that what her position was? I forget. She was the her interim board chair. And she still, even though she was a woman, defended them, and said that, Hockey Canada has such a great reputation. And she made this comment about how, if Hockey Canada has to change or completely replace management, or that it could jeopardize hockey at the grassroots level, which is ridiculous. Like, hockey's going to go on no matter what here. But anyway, in the end, she had to resign. The entire board resigned. They're going to have a whole new management structure, and let's hope that it leads to some real systemic structural change with them, cultural change, because there's been way too much of this stuff.
Mhm.
So that's my thing.
I had the same thing as Kelly, but I think, I think it's too much. Like, you can't. The thing that stuns me is that that Hockey Canada dictates both men and women's hockey. So all the funding that's being pulled from Hockey Canada and the minuscule amount that even goes to women's hockey is being taken away as well. But there are some sponsors who will continue to only kind of benefit the women's hockey. So that's good. But yeah, it's a friggin' problem. I can't, it makes me nauseous to think about.
Yeah, exactly. Janica?
So if you want some lighter thing that I
Yeah.
Twitter, I'm going to share this. So I know I mentioned this before about Phil Kessel loves hot dogs. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't to the point, like, it was like a media gaffe thing that, like, I guess became a big joke. When Wish and Emily Kaplan did ESPN on Ice, it was like actually a segment that they did and I loved. So it was Phil Kessel's birthday, and this is the cake he has. And like, I think he's in on the joke now. I think he's like the one guy that like doesn't look like he's a hockey player, but he will like get on the ice and like just be amazing. And you're like, what? Like, I remember Amanda, his sister, who she's also plays hockey. She like did like a Q&A on Twitter, and people were asking her, and she was like, yeah, he eats hot dogs, but not like every day. So I thought this was funny, and I figured it would be perfect to kind of add a little brevity after we talked about all that serious stuff. Yeah. So.
No, I love that. Sean's always like, if you had football players and hockey players just like go on the street and ask people what they did for a living, they wouldn't know.
Yeah. So that was funny. I can't believe it. It's so funny.
So mine is actually also going to be tied to my suit picture. One of the things that I learned, so towards the end of last year, I saw a random article about Ryan Reeves, who is a second-year player in the Rangers, who's been around for a while, who's kind of amazing.
From Winnipeg.
Yeah. Dad was actually at the game, which was kind of amazing. And he, the article came out, and it was interesting because it was going into his family history. And the point of the article, and I'll share it in the comments of the YouTube, but basically he is descended on his father's side from a guy by the name of Bass Reeves, who is one of the first Black sheriffs, I want to say. Like, again, the article is better about explaining about who Bass Reeves was than I was. But an even better place to find an explanation about who Bass Reeves was in the Beverly Jenkins book called Topaz, which I discovered the connection to Bass. Like, I knew about Topaz before, I'd seen the cover, but I'd not actually like learned how it tied to Bass Reeves before this article. Because I was like, when I read this article about Ryan Reeves and his history, I was like, Beverly Jenkins, the grand dame of historical romance, has got to have written a book about this character, about this individual.
Wow.
And sure enough, one of the historical figures that inspired one of the characters in Topaz was Bass Reeves. So
He's also supposed to, rumored to be the inspiration for the Lone Ranger as well.
yeah,
Oh, cool.
he's like a rather like famous like historical figure who like there's like whole bunches of books on this guy. It's kind of it's amazing. It's just a really cool thing, and then to have this connection to Miss Bev and
Yeah,
Roman
so
Stockton
weird,
in this
but
way.
cool.
So here we go. Yes. So
That is wild.
yeah, I was
Very
like,
well.
it's after the game where he stood up for Keandre Miller. This was like just a really cool thing, and I was like, yeah, we could see Bass Reeves in this guy. standing up for Keandre. So
Yeah.
I remember he like, because him and Evander Kane don't like each other, and I remember they would get into it, and like Evander Kane called him like the Muffin Man or something, and then when they were in the bubble, he was wearing a mask that had muffins on it. And I'm like, that's so petty. I love it.
oh, he is like in his Instagram
Like-
stories, like in the last couple of days, like the fandom after his fight, I think it was against like after his fight, the entire fandom got all excited, and he's been like posting pictures of the fight because it was in Keandre Miller's defense, and like it was kind of amazing. Like, don't like. Not in front of, it was in Minnesota. Like, don't hurt the baby in front of his mama, basically. Kind of amazing. So there we go.
Funny.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Are we doing our suits? Because before we do that, I want to show you. I finally did find a
Oh, okay.
picture
yes.
of Axel. I don't know how to say his name. Axel.
I know, Kelly. I was like,
Okay, this is Axel. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen.
Yeah.
Share. There he is.
Yep.
Oh,
I know, right?
He's
They
got
sell
that
it.
flow for sure.
Yeah. 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 So like I said, I don't know if he'll play, or hopefully he can play, but oh, stop sharing. There. Okay. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna share our suits. Okay. Right. So Fortune, yours a little bit different.
all right. So I went on the
yeah.
Instagram. I went on Instagram to look at the players coming into their first game last Thursday, just a couple days ago. And I was very disappointed. They were all young and they are all wearing ill-fitting suits. And then this came up and I was like, see, Daryl Sutter, he knows how to wear a suit, obviously. And he was also, I think, number 2 on the hottest coach list that came out earlier this year that we were talking about. But then I was like, what's a hot coach? Is that a hot coach a winning coach? Because I'm into that.
I love him.
Me too. He's the best.
hilarious. Yeah.
He has a very dry sense of humor that I don't think people always understand.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think he's great. So he's my suit guy this month.
This one. My dude is the top right. That is Brendan Dillon. He plays defense. I chose his picture only because of the paisley jacket. I just thought that was a real statement.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to take note that look at the lights they've got set up and a little carpet coming into the arena. Like this year, they're really taking this seriously about getting pictures of the guys in suits before the game. So I'm down with that.
Maybe they've been watching our show.
Maybe they have.
Maybe.
Could be.
Mine of course is Ryan Reeves.
Yeah.
it's not his best in a suit, but I just, the expression on his face, he's just like, I am here. And it's kind of amazing. Like, there were pictures on the Rangers Instagram and Twitter feed of him signing signing like the paper sort of Rangers logo and a couple of other things while they're having the blue carpet, which is kind of what happened outside the Garden on the night before and like on opening night. And he's just excited and thrilled to be here. And I'm just like thrilled for him. You know, I'm thrilled to like see him sort of find, having found his way on the Rangers this year, kind of like him just as a protector, him as a so I'm glad he's here and you see him, and yes, you can see Bath Reeves in him sort of stuff.
So the Flyers aren't always the best with these photos, but I picked Scott Lofton and JVR was in the photo too. I just thought it was a bold look for Scotty because like it's a bright color. Like all the other ones were like just like boring suits, like they were all like black suits. So I thought this one was an interesting and like bold choice, and I don't think I've really seen him wear like that bright of a color before. So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting look.
3-piece suit, baby blue. Hey,
yeah. I mean, and I've said that before, that I feel like sometimes they're like the younger players I get, they might only have like a couple suits, so they rotate them out and they might just like have a black one because they can wear it for other things. But like for these guys that have to wear them all the time and they just like wear the same black suit, I'm like, I like when I see stuff like that. And the paisley was cool too, just to see like a little bit more personality in there.
yeah. Okay. I guess it's 8:00.
Yeah, time for the last episode of Game of Thrones. I gotta go see my new Doctor Who boyfriend.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try to play this out.
All right. Join us next time. And
I forgot the music again.
We'll sing next time. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, good enough. There's a but. Okay, whatever. Okay. Thanks for joining us. I think we didn't talk about when our next one will be, but I think it'll be
November.
what do you think about November 20th?
I was looking at the calendar and I think that works to like avoid the American Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sound good? Okay.
Yep.
So we'll be back November 20th.
All right.